Now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Ken, and thank you for tuning in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. Ron Cook will join us in just a few moments, and we're talking about the Pirates. That's probably the headlines again today. People still upset, fans still upset, national people very critical of what they've done over the last few days. I know I was critical of them, and I don't agree with a lot of what they've done. I'm sure you've seen everyone in this town has been pretty critical of what happened over at 115 Federal Street, including the guy that's sitting right to my left, Ron Cook. You wrote a column about it today, Ron. And what do you make of what happened here? We knew that these guys weren't going to be here for the long haul, but how they traded them and what they got in return, do you like it?
Well, I mean, I guess I understand it. Once Cole went, you might as well jump in with both feet. You trade McCutchen. I see Josh Harrison says I should be next. You know, I think these guys want out of here. They see an organization that really isn't interested in winning. These young kids that are coming here in these trades are going to find that out. As soon as they make any money, they'll be gone. I get it that they're not going to pay McCutchen forever. They're not going to pay Garrett Cole forever, but the storyline never changes. It's always next year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, and those years never seem to get here. We've had the 3 winning seasons, which looks like an outlier now out of the past 25, and it's just, what kind of a track record is that? I just look at it, though, we're lucky. We got the Penguins, who try hard to win and have won 2 cups in a row. We have the Steelers, who, despite some of their self-inflicted wounds, always care about winning, and that never struck me about this Pirates and this ownership group. I don't think they give a damn about winning. They want to tell you they do. They want to. They want you to believe it, but they don't.
You really believe winning is secondary over there?
Well, their actions speak for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
a couple of years ago they had a chance to win 98 games. They could have added a little bit to that team. Instead, they traded away Neil Walker. They didn't add a pitcher. They went with an unbelievably bad rotation, and they ended up losing 83 games, coming off a 98-win season. Sometimes you have to add. I wouldn't have minded keeping McCutchen, keeping Cole, taking another shot. I know what they had last year wasn't good enough, but how about adding a pitcher? Spend a little money, but they're not going to do that. That's just not the way they operate.
Yeah, and
so I don't want to hear how much they want to win when they won't compete.
And I get it. I get maybe the structure of Major League Baseball and the economic structure of Major League Baseball, but I think it stinks. And the Pirates voted for this. Every other team voted for this except for Tampa, and this is what we're stuck with. There needs to be a salary cap in Major League Baseball. I know it'll never happen, Ron, but I guess what's the only other answer? That they're making so much money that they don't want it to change?
Absolutely. I mean, this isn't like the NHL that shut down a number of years ago. A lot of teams were losing money then. The Rangers weren't. Detroit wasn't, but most of the teams, including the Penguins, were losing money. I'm convinced they wouldn't be here if they hadn't got a salary cap. But they had to shut down a year to get it. These owners aren't going to shut down and lose millions and millions and millions right now. And that includes the Pirates and the other small market teams. It's not impossible to compete. You know, we saw Kansas City win a couple years ago. You have to make all the right moves, and you have to add sometimes when the timing is right. So anyone who's holding their breath for a salary cap, they're not going to get it.
I would like to see the small markets get together, those owners get together and try to take a stance at least against these big market teams.
And do
but
what?
They haven't done it.
And do what?
Say we want a salary cap.
Shut the game down?
Is that what would have to happen?
Why would
the Yankees do it?
Why
Why
when
would
they're
the
making
Dodgers
money,
do it? Yeah.
when they're all making money, would you want to shut the game down? Again, the NHL had absolutely no choice. It had to do it. This isn't the NHL.
And it'll never happen.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I think what I would maybe respect or understand more when I was over at that press conference yesterday and talked to Nutting and talked to these guys, and they spin it to everything's great and they want to win, and they're encouraged, and they throw out the lines like, we got young, eager talent. Yeah, I'm young and eager too, and I want to win, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have players that are good enough to win. I would rather see them come out and be truthful.
You generally in this life get what you pay for, and they are getting what they pay for. And frankly, I don't know what the attendance is going to be this year. It dropped from, what, 2.4 million in 15 when they won the 98 games to like 2.2 in 16. Last year it was 1.9. How much more is it going to drop?
I think it would.
That is, and why would, I get it. I mean, baseball, they're still lucky over there because baseball's still a nice summer night out. You go to a beautiful ballpark. You sit outside. It's relatively inexpensive. And a lot of people go, they don't care about winning. Well, some people do care, and I would think a lot more aren't going to go.
Yeah, I care about winning, and I talked to a couple friends that have canceled season tickets and that are not going, but everyone will still go. They said you're going to take their family, they're going to take their kids because it's a night out.
Yep,
it's a night out, and it's what it's become. I don't know if I would buy season tickets if I wasn't in this business. If I wanted to go see the Pirates,
I can't tell anyone to
game.
buy them or not to buy them. That's everybody's individual choice. And I mean, if somebody chooses not to, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, I'm not telling people not to buy tickets. I hope they get a big crowd there because that means they're winning. But I don't know how much lower they can get in attendance. But I can tell you right now.
I don't know how much more they can get in terms of public perception. It's pretty low right now, and I think they're teetering, and sometimes maybe over from anger to apathy, and apathy is a whole lot worse than anger. I don't know that people give a darn anymore. They're mad at McCutchen that's gone because he was the face of the franchise. I didn't hear one peep about Garrett Cole being traded, even though he's their best pitcher, and I know football season was going on. I didn't hear one peep about that. That to me tells me fans don't really care anymore. They don't care. They look at the ownership and see an ownership that doesn't care. Why should they?
And that's, what, it's funny you bring this up because that's exactly what my friends said to me today. And they're just my friends and it's on a group text, but they're not even angry anymore and they use the word apathy. That's what it's become. They were the biggest Pirates fans. And it's become, like Pitt basketball. Nobody cares anymore. And that's the worst.
The group has to overcome. Good luck.
All right. Well, we got to overcome a break. Give us a call. 412-575-2600 is the number. We're taking your call on the Pirates. If you want to talk about the Steelers as well, they had their wrap-up news conference today on the South Side. Mike Tomlin said a few things, but what he didn't say is who's coming back on that coaching staff. All that and more coming up next after the break. Stay right there.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, putting new roofs on Pittsburgh homes for over 25 years. Call Ireland Contracting at 1-800-NEW-ROOF.